So you're looking for a way to create curb appeal and privacy in your front yard. Well, I got you. Let's turn the standard front yard into the best looking house on the block. Most of the time when I go on my consults, I reach a common question where they're tired of the front yard being exposed. When they need to go out to their car or when they're going out to their mailbox, they're tired of making eye contact every single time. But there's neighbors across the street or there's somebody jogging on the road. Now, we're not saying that like you don't like your neighbors or you don't want to be social with those people, but every single time it does get a little bit repetitive. So there's nothing wrong with wanting a little bit of privacy. Let's break this down into 3 easy steps. So the first step would be laying your anchor trees and palms. The second step would be laying your accents. The third step would be laying your ground cover and shrubs. Stick around for that one too, because that one can get a little bit tricky. So when picking your anchor palms, we're gonna go with a foxtail palm on this one, and I'll tell you why in 1 second. We're going with a double right here, and then we're gonna use a single onto the other side. I do generally like to have not a double and a double if at all possible. And it also goes with this because this is usually a smaller side. You usually have a little bit more room on this side. So there's a few things to consider when choosing your anchor palms: your maintenance level and then your roof line. If it's a low roof line, all you want is for that palm to be above the roof line. So you wouldn't use something like a pygmy date palm or a bottle palm because it wouldn't reach that desired height. Think of it as you want to frame the house as best as possible. So this is a 1-story house right here. So these foxtails are going to cap out right above this roof line. If this was a 2-story house, I would more than likely go with something like a royal palm just because it would help fit it a little bit better. Now, moving on to the second point, which is your maintenance levels. Now, for those taller palms like your royal palms or your foxtail palms, if you could try to go with a palm that's more self-shedding, that's going to help you a lot more in the long run. So you're not getting a giant ladder and trying to trim those off yourself. That's really going to help your maintenance levels. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to you guys in zone 9B. Unfortunately, you guys do have a little bit of a harder time with your anchor palms. A lot of your anchor palms aren't self-shedding, so you're going to be kind of stuck with things like queen palms and Sylvester palms. Now that we're done with our anchor palms, we're going to want to go to our understory palms. For these palms, I'm going to go with the pygmy date palm. Put one right there. Also the Christmas palm. I think a nice triple would fit this property amazingly. Go right there. And then add another pygmy date palm right to that front. So there is a strategy when picking these under storage palms. The pygmy date palms are going to be here for privacy. These are going to stay low for majority of their life. And they have some nice fronds, so it's going to help break up your eyesight from the street. And you know that I like to work in more tier effect or layered effect. So I like for my anchor palms to be the tallest, it to go down, up, up. It just looks good visually. So that's why we brought in the triple Christmas palm right here. Now, as for the pygmy date palms, they are not self-shedding, so you will have to get your hand trimmers and clip off all the dead fronds. As for the Christmas palm, they are self-shedding, so that is nice to have. So real quick, while I have this, I'm going to go and outline the bed, or at least the shape that I think that I'm going to go with. You know, I like to work with a nice curved bed shape like this, and whenever I'm creating my bed shape, I'm always trying to make it shape around my accents. For my accents for this one, I'm going to go with the false agave. You know, I love using the false agave, super low maintenance, super hardy. It pretty much goes good in every situation. These usually stay around like that 4 feet in diameter. They can get a little bit larger, but for the most part, they stay around this size. Super slow growing as well. Now, I love the false agave, but you can swap it out for a few different accents if you like. I love the bird of paradise, and it's going to actually create a little bit more of a buffer for you, especially on these 2 sides right here, like the walkway and the driveway. Now, the only reason that we're not going to go with that is just the maintenance level. It's a little bit more than the false agave, quite a bit more actually. So we're going to try to keep this as low maintenance as possible. Speaking of low maintenance, another great alternative would be the king sago. Now, these are toxic to animals, so that's something to keep in mind. But if you don't have any pets and you're looking for a nice little accent feature, these are exceptional and they look good all the time. And they handle the cold very well. But for the video's sake, I'm going to go back and swap these out for the false agave. So I like giving people options in case they want to do it and they're not just stuck to my vision. But now for step 3, and I mentioned that step 3 was ground covers and shrubs, and I mentioned that it was a little bit tricky when trying to do it. The reason for that is because you're going to be planting in drifts, and that's a little bit hard to explain, so I'm going to pop up an illustration. But basically, it's a curved planting, and then where that curved planting finishes, right before it finishes, it picks up with another type of curved planting. That's how you get a very visually appealing tropical landscape. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that with this. But first, I want to go and put my back tier. I'm going to go with the Brazilian red cloak right behind this foxtail palm. This is going to give a beautiful backdrop. If you know anything about Brazilian red cloaks, they are always blooming and always bushed out. They look amazing. And they handle the cold fairly well. They did die back quite a bit, but they are the first thing that bounced back. My main shrub material is going to be arboricola and crotons. Now, this would be an ideal place also to use Sanchizia, but for this case, I'm trying to go with a little bit more cold hardy material, just for my 9B people, but you could switch this out with Sanchizia if you're in zones 10 and above. Now you may be asking, Bryce, why are you using arboricola and crotons? Because they are easy to find and they're hardy as heck. Most of the time you see these and they don't look good, so it kind of gets them like a bad rap, or they're saying, oh, I just see them too much and they kind of look ugly or whatnot. They're not meant to be the main centerpiece. They're meant to be a very supportive feature within a garden. They're gonna highlight this palm tree and then support the plantings in front of it. So I always like putting something on the left side, I'll always put it right back onto the right side. So you can see a little bit of symmetry throughout the design. So our drift is going to start right in front of this foxtail palm and then slowly drift back behind this pygmy date palm. It's going to get picked right back up with these petrocrotons. Petrocrotons look good majority of the time. Now they do need like an every 90-day minimal trim. And if you're curious about that, I posted a video on that last week. Go ahead and check it out. I'll make sure to link it somewhere on the screen. These petrocrotons, they have nice reds, yellows, and like oranges. It's like kind of like a fall color. There's not much plantings like that in Florida. So I like to use them as much as possible. I would say they're probably one of my favorite crotons to use. So I'm liking the way that everything's sitting right now. One thing that I think that would make this landscape really pop is if it had a decorative rock bed right around this center section. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in just to see how it looks. So I mentioned earlier that it's a little bit tricky when picking your ground cover and shrubs. That's mainly because you want to be very intentional with how you pick your ground cover. Mainly speaking, you don't want something that's going to get sticky. It's okay for your shrub plants to get a little bit sticky because your ground cover is going to make up for that. For instance, the petrocrotons can sometimes get a little bit sticky from lack of pruning, and same with the arboricola. So you want something that's going to be able to cover those bottom legs. But for ground cover, they don't have any support there. So that's why you'll see a lot of the times that we rinse and repeat our ground cover, because we know it works very well as bottom tier plantings. Now we're going to go again with our drifts. I'm going to start this drift right behind this false agave, move behind this pygmy date palm. And you already know what we do to one side, we got to do to the other side. Now, one thing to note with this gold mount, it does have a tendency to want to grow on you. So you do want to try to keep it at that around 10 to 12 inch height. One advantage to this is that you can keep it that height and it won't get leggy on you. Unlike a petrocroton or an arboricola, if you try to keep it that height, it's really not going to cooperate too well. All right, so we've already decorated the sides up a little bit. Let's go ahead and touch a little bit more in the middle. I think some foxtail ferns would do great in this section, mainly because this is going to be more of our drought tolerant section. With the false agave being here, I want to go with something with similar watering cycles. So the foxtail ferns should be able to complement this very well. They offer a different texture and a beautiful contrast with this rock right here. Very low on the maintenance levels too. Once again, 90-day minimal trimming, not anything too major. When trimming these guys, you basically want to grab the top of it, make it kind of like a ponytail and hold it all at once, and then trim the whole bottom layer. Pretty much everything lying close to the ground, you want to be able to trim that, so it keeps its clean and tidy look. Loving the way this is looking right now. Let's go ahead and add a little pop of color, add a bromeliad or two. These particular bromeliads are Marguerite bromeliads, and they can handle that full sun. They do very well in zones 10A and above, but they did very well with the last cold snap. So I wouldn't go as far as saying they can survive totally in 9B, but I think they're worth a shot. And they're pretty accessible in nurseries too. You can probably also find them at big box stores like Home Depot or Lowe's as well. So we're almost done right here. Let's go and add a little, let's go and finish this off with this last ground cover section. You know it wouldn't be a design without some Blew My Minds right here. If you know anything about Goldbound, I love pairing the Blew My Minds with them together because they just complement each other so well. And a good thing to note is that the Blew My Minds are also drought tolerant, so they go very, very well with the false agave. So they're going to be on very similar watering cycles as well. One little cool thing that I think is kind of funny, I know majority of flowers do this, but these guys like kind of literally close their eyes when nighttime comes, and then they open back up blooms whenever the sun shows. So it's kind of like the whole plant is going to bed when you look at it. And I'm really liking the way this is looking right now, but I think it needs a little bit of a break somewhere. And if you know me, I love adding boulders as that break. Coquina boulders are one of the most common boulders that you do see in Florida, and look, it just fits right in. So if I remember correctly, coquina boulders are actually like seashell fragments, believe it or not. So it's literally like having a little bit of the beach in your front yard. Okay, so we are pretty much done with this for the most part. The only thing else is just kind of matching it onto the other side. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. And don't worry, I didn't forget about this section right here. We're gonna go ahead and add a few things that I think would look amazing in this spot. We are gonna go with a single bottle palm right in the middle and 2 Imperialis bromeliads right on either side of it. Keep it nice and simple. Maybe go something like dwarf Taiwanese ixoras to the back, and then a few foxtail ferns to kind of go in between everything. Whenever you're near a pathway, you always got to remember not to have things that are going to be rubbing up against your feet whenever you're walking across the pathway. So that's always something to remember. And that pretty much wraps it up, you guys. We were able to create curb appeal and privacy within one design. And this is something that you can easily replicate within your own garden. And don't forget to make it your own. Switch out a couple plants with something that maybe you want to see more of, or you have a favorite plant or a favorite croton. Go ahead and swap those out. Make this your own. Or if you want us to make it your own for you, go ahead and reach out. I'll put everything down in the description. We'd love to help you out by creating a custom rendering and plan for your own space. And if you like this video, you'll probably like this video. I'll leave it up on the screen for you guys. Thank you again and take care.